We'll let everybody in here in the next few minutes and then we'll get started.
I don't think so.
So before we jump into this week's topic, did anybody who was here from last month implement anything that they got from last month's call? And if you did, how did it go? Does anybody remember last month's call? So it was on the Disney experience?
My first time attending.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Same here, so I can't really contribute to that question either.
Okay, so let's jump into our topic for today then. So our topic for today is automation. And I thought it would be good to start the conversation with answering the question, what is the goal of automation?
Getting to work less hard.
You had it in the title, right? Taking the work out of workflow.
Let the systems do it for you.
I would say consistency, which leads to scalability. And then you can have the same experience for every single customer as well.
Love that. Would anybody add anything to that?
Similar to consistency, I think it minimizes opportunity for error.
Yep, great point. Anything else?
I think you can reach more people at once.
Yeah. And to promote efficiency.
What do we not?
Go ahead, Paula. I'll jump in after you.
I was actually going to shift the conversation a little bit. So if you wanted to add something to this, add something.
I was going to ask everyone just to get a baseline of where everyone is at right now. Can you put in the chat box what system you currently are using for your TC processes? Whether it's a paper or if it's a system, is it a spreadsheet that you're using? Is it open to close? Like, what are you using, just so that we can get a really good baseline of where everyone is at? And I think that will kind of kick off this conversation for automation and where we can go.
So while you guys are doing that, my next question is, what do we want automation to not do for us?
Sometimes it can be less personal.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, the personal touch.
Right. Like, we don't want to lose that personal touch. That's part of that whole client experience we were talking about last week. We want all of our clients to feel special.
Well, sometimes for me, the automation is even just something to remind me to call that person. So like, not all my automation is stuff pertaining to the, like, going to the client. It's something that, like, in my command, I set myself tasks to call them so that I still have the personal touch, but then emails, all that is automated.
Yep.
Right. We
great
can
point.
automate this system on the back end. We don't necessarily have to automate our communication processes. There's different levels of automation throughout the entire transaction. What I'm seeing here in the chat box is that we use multiple things, right? Multiple things. And I think that's common across the board here. Wow. Trello, seeing a lot of command, spreadsheets. So with this, who feels like they have automation down?
I could use more tweaking, but as far as one contract to the other, my systems are all the same. So like I don't do anything different for one that I wouldn't do for another, but sometimes I do feel like I'm in 8 different systems to do that same process and it becomes too much.
So jumping in and out of different systems is what you're saying is the inefficiency?
Yes, yes. Or the same information I have in command is the same information in my spreadsheet. It just, you know, it might look better one way or be easier to manage one way, but I'm still doing the same thing across the board.
And that goes back to your question of what we don't want it to do is overcomplicate things, right? So sometimes I feel like we can get in there and overcomplicate it. You know, I want this system to do that, this, that. Sounds like we all work in silos though.
Say more about that, Jonathan.
Well, I mean, just so you know, I don't perform the TC role at our team, but I want to work on it with our other TCs. But so we have a dot loop, we use CTE, we have files on our server, and then the TCs, they keep their own spreadsheet of who's doing which closings. And so, and I don't even have access to that. And so there's a lot of piecing everything together that I think that we could do.
So does anybody feel like they have a system and process that's not jumping in and around or in and out of other things? It's pretty streamlined in one location.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'd like to find.
It's just hard because I feel like a lot of the systems don't give you all of that. Like I couldn't imagine if only command processed everything I needed. Like it doesn't happen that way. I have yet to find the one system that it's like, wow, you can do it all.
So who on here has found the one system?
Does it exist is my question.
Or how do we make one and patent it and become millionaires?
What I find works the best is, you know, I had everyone write in the chat box what you do use. The main reason we do these masterminds is to build that community within the TC world. So I challenge you to go in there and look at who's using what, same systems as you, and asking them, private message them for their email address so that you can actually meet up with them and kind of trade secrets, right? What works really well in one versus what doesn't work in one, and maybe automate your system in a way that you would have never thought about before. So go through there, and I would love to see you guys connect with each other, knowing that this mastermind, we're not going to be able to really completely share everything we do in and out of a whole transaction. So what questions do you guys have for each other when it comes to automation?
I want to know spreadsheet wise, because it looks like quite a few people said they use spreadsheets. I use multiple spreadsheets. So do you all do everything out of one, or like open to close, or is it multiple, or how do you go about just making it one spreadsheet instead of a bunch?
And what are you using spreadsheets for?
Different things. So I have one spreadsheet that I use to track the process, like deadlines, dates, communicating with the agents, stuff like that. But then I have another spreadsheet that I use to track everything after it closes. So I pretty much have a lead spreadsheet, an under contract spreadsheet, and then a closing spreadsheet.
So basically those spreadsheets are just checklists.
Yep.
Okay,
Checklists,
so that's
and
what
then-
we use Trello for. You know, you can create a board and then you can have separate checklists within each board. And then it's kind of just all there and you toggle within that same platform.
Okay. And I use, I do have Trello, but I don't use it very much.
If you don't mind me asking, as far as your checklist, where did you derive that from experience, or was there something that you got that from, or was it like a coach?
Yeah, from when I came onto the team, they kind of had their process, and then I just tweaked it to, because I'm the only TC for 5 agents, nope, 6 now on our team. So I started it because I'd be in command and checking things off, but command wasn't really notifying me. So I use the spreadsheet to track everything we have under contract, and then I do dates and deadlines. And
I love that, because that's kind of where I find myself bouncing around through different things, and I'm like, oh wait, I didn't update it here. Oh wait, and I'm looking for one place to kind of keep track of.
Yeah, and
of
my
everything.
spreadsheet is like almost my master. Like I check it off on Folio, I check it off in command, I make sure it's sent to the title company, and then my under contract sheet, once it's checked off there, I know that I've done all my 12 steps.
Okay, I like that. I've also been using, which I hate to even say, but paper, because then I write all my notes and everything on here, but then I'm like, well, what if this paper blows away in the wind? And then I'm really, really
Yeah.
out. So that's really good. That's a really good idea to put it in a spreadsheet instead.
Yep, I do write things down. If it's something I need to do, like, oh, title just came in here, but then earnest money just came in here, I will write it down. So I'll have like my little booklet, but otherwise I am 95% all computer. I don't do any paper, anything. If an agent hands me a file, I scan it and it's all in my system.
Okay, that's really good to know, because I've been trying to keep track of all of the different things, and I find that just so that I have an at a glance kind of thing, so I'm not looking in 5 different locations for it. But that does, I like that idea, because I like to make myself have notes to remind myself to, this was the date this came in, or this is the date we're still waiting on this kind of stuff. So that's good. I like that.
Yep.
Certainly you all have like templated emails that you send. What do you use to host those templates?
CTME.
We also keep our templates in Trello also, so it kind of is a dual purpose.
Can you email out from Trello, or do you just copy and paste it?
Yeah, we just copy and paste.
Gotcha, okay.
There are templates in Command, if you have access to that you can set up to automatically send email templates. And they can be like a work with me seller, a work with me buyer, those types of things too. So they're already constructed, and they'll automatically pull in your headshot, your email, your phone number, and your website. So I have found that to be a huge benefit, other than trying to find a way to keep in touch with our past clients and compose all these different emails. I can sort through these templates and have a way to communicate with them, and it's not the same thing every time, you know?
Have they made Command for Teams a little bit better? Because with last I heard for Teams, it didn't really work very well. We weren't able to connect all of the agents.
We have that issue as well.
Yeah.
I can't give you an answer for that because I only work for one agent right now. And so we're not even like as a quote unquote team yet, but Command is always rolling out new updates. So that may be something that you might want to talk to your market center tech trainer or your regional tech trainer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm no help with that.
What size team do you have, Jonathan?
What's that?
What size team do you have?
We have 34 agents and then 12 staff.
Gotcha. Okay. And how many transaction coordinators do you have on your team?
3.
3. Okay. Anyone else have a team that big here?
Not
Well,
that big, but we have 5 agents and 1 TC, and we close 300 a year.
That's a lot.
So yeah, we have less agents, but they do high vol. Each one does pretty high volume. They all close about 60 to 70 a year.
And so how many transactions are you processing at one time?
Highest I've done so far has been 60. Right now we're at 30. And it can be anything. It can be a lot. It can be a new build that's not closing until December. They're all over the place, but.
So when do you know when it's time to actually take a step back when you get so busy and ramped up to know to take the time to actually build out the automation?
Good question. At night when I should not be working. Or just like as I see things, like when I first started, there would be systems where, you know, we mark things off in so many places. And I actually did take it from a couple spreadsheets and we were using something in Google and now it's just one. So but the way my brain works is work smarter, not harder. So anytime I saw something duplicated, I would just say, okay, how can we make this one? And sometimes it's needed. Sometimes you have to have the duplicate, but anytime I saw something duplicated, I would just, you know, merge columns, or instead of having these 2 spreadsheets, let's just do this one or something like that.
Right. Brings it back to some of your guys' needs for, or definition of automation, right? To make it repeatable and scalable. And a lot of times teams grow so fast that they get so busy and they think they need another person. So my question to you guys is, when do you know if you need another person or if you need more automation?
I hope I'm not saying it like, is it Alea or Aaliyah?
It's Aaliyah. Yeah.
Aaliyah, okay. I feel like you need another person. I don't know if you're doing listings and then you're doing, you know, post contract, you know, you definitely need somebody. I mean, at 300 for sure.
We do. We've actually expanded to where we had 5 admin, and then over the last year, now we're down to 2. So we're still building it back up, and we do need that other person, but yeah, it is a lot. But I do feel like my automation works fairly well. Like I know that it's going to be the same for each one, but where I run into the struggle is we have 8 closing on a Friday, and I have to make sure I have everything for each one of those, and there's only so many hours in a day. But if it's a slow time, it's manageable. But when it gets busy is when it's hard to definitely need another person.
And it's hard to plug in another person, right? If we don't have those systems completely templated out and automated to make it plug and play for a new person to come in and be the next Aaliyah, right?
That's the hardest part is of the turnover. You bring someone in, and though it works in your brain and you have the system, if that's too much for them, then it doesn't work out. Yeah, we've went through 3 different TCs in the last year just because of that.
So looking back at your challenges that you have, what advice or strategy would you implement or give to the group here?
I'd say a lot of it is training. Like, even if someone's been a TC, and we had someone that was a TC, but they were a TC for one agent, and then you come onto a team and you go under contract on 6 things in one day. I think it's training. Don't rush them into the situation, because I think if you rush someone into a position, you're not going to even keep them as long. Like, you're going to see a 3-month turnover because right off the bat, you tried to get them to absorb everything. So I think just having good training processes, like instead of showing them everything in the first day, like just slowly introducing them into it.
Depending on where you go, yeah, depending on where you go.
So if we're talking automation, it doesn't necessarily have to be automation specifically to the transaction, right? It could be to your specific workflow that you use.
Yep. Or even automation to training. Like when you hire someone, do you just sit with them and say, here's how I do a transaction, watch me? Or, do you have videos already set up and, a checklist? Because Trello, we actually do use for our new hire checklist. So anytime someone comes on, instead of just saying, okay, well, watch me and you'll catch on eventually, we say, okay, go through this entire checklist of videos, command training, CTME training, anything for all your systems. And I think that helps a lot too.
So, question to the group, kind of diverting a little bit. In looking at our mastermind last month with the client experience and how we mentioned here, a challenge could be still maintaining that client experience. What do you automate, or what could you automate that would not take away that client experience? I think the screen froze.
Everybody's thinking.
This
Well,
is where everyone gets stuck, right?
When I look at this and I think about what is automation, and when I think about the technical term of it, I think this is something that just happens automatically if you push a button. So let's say I go into my system, whatever system that is, I put there's a new sale. And then to me, automation is it fires off an email to the attorney or the title company, whatever state you're in, fires off something to the buyer, the seller, the buyer agent, the seller agent. It just does it all automatically. Versus where I think a lot of us operate off of checklists that, and we're the pusher. I see that task and I check it off, and then I go and I send this intro email to the seller, like here's how this is going to work, kind of thing. So how do you automate that portion of it, or should you even automate it? I used to use a system called RealBolve. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, and they had a great way of automatically firing off emails that would pull information from the transaction that you would put in there, like earnest money deposits and escrow and price and all of that. But it would mess up all the time because it's an automated system. And so we stopped using that altogether, and we would always edit the emails. So that's why I wonder, how much automation can we actually get in there?
That's a great question, because even with our templates, right? How often do we modify those? Just a little bit to make them more personalized.
Yeah.
Does anyone here use triggers for automation in any way or another?
On our team, we actually use TC Workflow, and it's kind of automated, and all the inputs, once you put in all the contract information and you have all the email templates ready in the system. So once you load any email, the information you've already entered are already put into the template. It's all ready for you. So usually what we do is just proofreading and then we go ahead and send it. So the preparation of the email is actually efficient on our end. And of course, we make sure that the email templates that we put in there are all personalized to make sure that you keep that client experience. And then once we finish that, we follow up with phone calls, and we make sure that check-ins with clients are regular. Like there are parts of the contract process wherein we will be calling them to make sure there's still communication with them by phone, aside from the emails that we are sending them. So yeah.
What are some examples of those automated emails and like what they say? Like, are these just emails that say, if you need anything, let us know, your inspection objection deadline is tomorrow? Or like when you get title documents, do those automatically go out?
Yes. So for example, once we get under contract, we send out congratulations email from agent. That is ready in CC Workflow. Once we've entered all the contract information, like the buyer's contact info, all the other contract contacts, all of them are ready in the system. So anytime we need to send them an email, each and every email template that I know of that we use are all there. Even if it's confirming the inspection times, it's an email for the other agent, email for the inspector, and email for the clients. So all of those can be done in one system. And the very good thing I can say about CC Workflow is it actually solves our issues with deadlines, because manually keeping it on a spreadsheet and putting it manually in the calendar, it can, get messy along the way. Wherein if you will enter it in one system, which is CC Workflow, it will automatically sync the schedule to agent's calendar, as well as our office calendar, and even the clients. So it kind of makes things easy, like simply just putting all the contract information in one system. It makes it more efficient for us.
So when you go under contract, you just have to put it into TC Workflow, all the dates and deadlines, and then it's automated. So I do the same thing in CTME, but if there's an amend, CTME will not, the dates don't change. So in TC Workflow, if you have an amend, do you just update the date in there and then it continues?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's not bad, because I do the same thing with Folio. I use Folio to send out emails, and anytime there's amend, I have to go into Folio and I have to change the dates so that it doesn't send them their objection deadline on the wrong date.
Yeah.
TC Workflow.
Oh, just to add to, CC Workflow is also great whenever there is high turnover rate. Like in our team, we've experienced that very, frequent in the past. And TC Workflow having the checklist ready, and it's very user friendly. So it actually makes the TC job a lot easier. And yeah, training is quite pretty fast using that one.
Does TC Workflow also allow your agents to get in there so they can see what's been done, what's happening?
No, unless you share them, like the login details. Like we have TCVA, and we are using the same login information for our Rainmaker.
So Anne, you said that it shared the deadlines to the agent's calendar.
Yep.
If a deadline is complete, does it update their calendar in any way so that they know, hey, this is completed?
Yes, and you have an option to remove it as well if it's completed already, just so it doesn't really mess up, the agent's calendar.
Anybody else having any other challenges with kind of moving towards automation, just like the amend dates that maybe someone has an answer to on here?
I'd love to know if anyone has a solution from like writing the contract. So if I'm the agent, I write the contract and it gets all signed, like whether you do that through DocuSign or .loop or DigiSign or whatever, and then how you get that into your system to where you're, you know, turning it in and checking the paperwork.
So you're talking about automating the handoff in some way or another. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's a good way to word it. Thank you.
Okay.
We use .loop and the admins get a notification when something is signed. So I'm not sure if that's along the same lines you're referencing.
I guess because we're using .loop too still, and I guess they could change the status from, you know, to pending or whatever it is in there. And then that gives us a notification too.
So something that our group does whenever our agents go under contract, what they'll do is they'll kind of intro us in. So they'll CC us on an email with the agent and they'll say, thank you for sending over the executed contract. We've CC'd our transaction coordinator into this email. Please be sure to include them in all correspondence. And then from there, we know to go ahead and work on getting our intro emails out to like the lender and title and the buyer or seller.
We use DocuSign too. And what we do, so DocuSign and Command talk to each other. So when I need something signed in Command, whether it's consumer guide, buyer's agent, agency, you know, things like that, I create an envelope and I send this to, let's say we got 2 buyers for a purchase contract, right? So I will put both of them on there to sign it. And then right after that, I can go ahead, as soon as both of them sign it, it will be directly sent to the other agent because I can input that email. So that's a huge, or even the lender, you know, after the fact. But that has been really helpful. And then when I'm in Command in the opportunity section, I can upload those signed documents and submit it to our market center. So because we get those emails, we get it when they view it, and then we get it when it's been completed. And by completed, that means both people have signed and it has landed in the other agent's inbox. So my whole circle has made its way back. So that's a huge help.
Our team also uses .loop, and with char forms, like not continuing with them until and I guess until October 31st. So come November, we will be using DocuSign, although we are still in the process of migrating and connecting our command to DocuSign. So.
How else are we keeping, I like the question that you asked, how else are we keeping the agents in the know using our systems?
So my agents have access to my under contract spreadsheet. They don't have edit access, but they have view access. So if they need to know if title, because they do get the emails and I'm CC'd on everything that they get, but sometimes they don't pay attention to their inbox like we do. So like if they don't know if titles come in for a certain transaction, they can go to that spreadsheet, and if I have it marked off, they know it's been received. If it's not marked off, then they reach out, but I just let them pretty much see everything that I do.
Well, I have a terrible answer. What I do is I write down everything that goes on all day, and then I send my boss a text of everything that went on. And I swear it takes me like 25 minutes.
Are you the one that said you work for one agent as of now, but you're growing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Look, I'm gonna start charging for my daily recaps. Look, I don't have, no, I'm not recapping on my time. Okay.
I think having a system in place too, where the agents know what you're going to do. Like when a title commitment comes in, the agents know that I'm going to download it. I'm going to put it in command, and then I'm going to send it to the client via CTME. And I have an automated email that says, this is your title commitment, please review. So really the agents know that once that comes in, all they have to do is review it and make sure because I'm not reviewing a title commitment. I don't know anything that's on it. I just upload it. So I think when your agents know what you do in each step, that helps too. Like when an inspection objection comes in, do you do the same thing for every agent, or is it on a case-by-case basis? Because the more agents you have, if you don't have the same process for each agent, it just makes your world so much harder.
Well, I think that the issue is that we're both turning over stones, right? Like I am brand spanking new, about to get licensed myself, and this is her first time having a transaction coordinator. So we're building everything from the ground up. We are getting it out of the mud. That's what we're doing. And she has, because she's so strong-headed and determined, she has a very hard time letting go of things. So she has a tendency to keep telling me to do things that I've already done, right? So we're both taking time out of our day, revisiting things that are already taken care of, that she needs to just have trust in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep. And I ran into that with my agents too, where one would be like, oh, well, I like to send off earnest money. And then another one would be like, oh, as soon as you get earnest money, just send it. So I pretty much told the agents, I said, we all need to be on the same page. I can't do one thing for you and then not do it for another agent, because then it just makes our process harder. So yeah, just communicating with them, or maybe if in your spreadsheet, you can give her access to your spreadsheet. Don't let her change anything, but just say, if you want to see what I'm doing, you can look at this anytime you want.
Yeah. And I operate primarily out of her emails, but I put my signature and her spreadsheet. So there's nothing that I do that she cannot put eyes on, you know? So I think it's just I mean, I understand I'm brand spanking new, but I've been doing this for 9 months. I know that they need to turn in their earnest deposit. Okay. It's handled. Trust me.
For our team, we use CTE spreadsheet. So agents also have access to that, but only view only access. And then we have Monday meeting agenda. So in our meeting agenda, which is accessible to every team member and agents, of course, we have like key updates, like one-liner update on every contract. All of our contracts are there. And each contract is starting with the closing date, and then they are arranged chronologically. The one-liner update is actually more of the inspection, appraisal, if there are any like issue that needs to be resolved or pending to be resolved, and then the schedule for final walkthrough and closing. Like those are the one-liner updates. So you don't really need to put everything in there, but just one-liner like through inspections or resolution date is this date, something like that. So anytime the agents can have a quick glance on where their contracts are. And by the way, the contracts are arranged per agent, like each agent's name appear in there, and then the closing dates are arranged chronologically for all of their contracts, so they know where to look.
We're in the process of changing systems right now, so I haven't seen it done in the final version yet. I'm also new to the team, so catching up on what the old way was and what the new way is supposed to look like. But we're switching to Brevity, which has workflows that you can build in. And if it is assigned to a certain agent, they can go in and see at any point where their client is on that workflow. So I know that's going to be a big piece of how we keep agents up to date.
Who on here is using Brevity?
We're about to be.
From the comments, it looks like just two, Bethany and one other person.
iPhone.
Yeah.
We're using Brevity at the Home Advisors team.
So Ashley, share with Bethany your experience with Brevity.
I feel like it's a good catch net, as long as you have everything in there, all the details of what needs to be done throughout the transaction. It's just another place where you can go through and the tasks are right there in front of you, so that you really don't miss anything, as long as you're keeping up with them and actually doing the tasks that are there.
Ashley, were you a part of that build out process for the tasks?
I was not. That was already basically built out by whenever I was brought on.
So that's always the question, right? How much do you build out your automation? Because you can be from a task, just checklist. It could be all the way to triggers for, inspection dates. Where are you guys using it right now? Is it just for checklists?
It's for checklists, but then on the checklist, we do have tasks like they come like a weekly recurring task while the transaction is pending to, check the title status, check the lending status, give a call to the buyer. So and then you can go in and add additional tasks, for instance, a day before the inspection period is up, a task can be added, on this day, inspection period's up tomorrow, So it's just an added, and that's the thing I like about it too, because you can add in like your own personalized tasks to remind you of things. So that I like that part of it too, that you can add to it. It's not just one system that can't be added to.
Do you find that you still need alternative spreadsheets and systems to keep you from contract to close?
Well, that's our main one. However, we do use CTE, but that's more for tracking, just so we can have a big picture look at what we have pending and active and, coming soon and that. So basically, we use Brevity a lot as far as our task list and running the transaction.
Yeah, it sounds like that's very similar to how we're going to be using it. We have a separate spreadsheet where we track a lot of different KPIs we're starting to get in the habit of looking at, just because Brevity doesn't have all of those custom fields. But as far as managing a task workflow, that's where it seems like it's going to be the most helpful.
Right.
So something Aaliyah said earlier brought a question to my mind. When you bring a new agent on the team, how do they know your system and process? How do they know what they're doing and what you're doing? And like Aaliyah, how do they know that it's their job to check the title work and this is where they find it?
So I sit down with them like in their first couple days, and depending on how they start, like, are they coming on as a buyer's agent right away, or are they a showing assistant where they really don't go under contract? But if we hire a buyer's agent within their first couple days, I have them sit with me and I pretty much tell them all of that. I do keep it in Trello because we have all of our training in Trello. So the agents can go in there and see, like, I even have a little list of what your TC does for you so that they know. But I just sit with them and I say, when this happens, here's what I do with it, here's what you do with it. And then when we get earnest money, here's what I do, here's what you do. And that pretty much. And then over the first couple transactions, of course, there will be some overlapping. And I just take it upon myself to say, hey, you just sent this, but I'd actually sent it yesterday or whatever. And then it just slowly kind of gets better. It's never perfect, but. Because we run into that a lot. It seems silly, but if a client gets something from the TC and then they get it from the agent, it makes it look like we're not communicating. Like, it makes it look like we're doubling our work. So I really try to emphasize what they do versus what I do so that we try to avoid that when it comes to sending things to clients and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. We're supposed to be doing that stuff so that they don't have to. They go out and get more listings and buyers and we do the paperwork.
Does anybody do anything differently?
Leah, I can actually relate to you. Me and my boss will go back and forth about something, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll shoot an email and ask for it. And she says, okay, well then, because I'll write it on my list of things to do. By the time I get to it, she calls me and she says, well, I've already called them. And, now they think I'm crazy. And I'm like, well, we just agreed that I was going to send them an email and you went and called them anyway. So I absolutely understand. And, the worst thing anybody wants is to look silly, but we've got to agree on one course of action and it needs to be taken. And then, if it doesn't happen, accountability comes into play. But yeah, we'll both be having the same conversation with somebody in the middle and they're like, who am I talking to? Because that's another issue we run into is that I've not been introduced to a whole lot of people. So I'm over here pretending to be her. So then they're like, why are you emailing me this when we just had this conversation? So that's something that we've got to just get out of the way because it's creating some, what's the word I'm looking for? Not issues necessarily, but like road bumps, I guess, where it's just over communicating, I guess.
So what does the TC introduction look like on your teams?
On our team, yep. On our team, we have the congratulations email from agent. The TC name, contact info, the email address and phone number are all in there. So it's like handing off the client from the agent to the TC and the office. So yeah.
We send an automated email. It's not automated, but it's a template, but from CTME. I introduce myself to the buyer or seller, to the agent on the other side of the deal, to the title company, and to the lender. And normally that works pretty well. I rarely get missed on anything. Sometimes the title company will send something to an agent and not CC me, but I just do an intro every time to all of those people.
We have our agents, there's a templated email for them as well that will introduce the TC. We train them to talk about the TC during their showings and writing, blah, 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 to talk you up. and then say, okay, this person is the best person to contact. They know contracts better than me. They do way more, you know, you talk them up. And so there's an email that they send out that's to their seller or their buyer. And then the TCs have their emails that they send out as well. So they usually wait for that email first, and then they'll introduce themselves.
You guys have pretty good adoption of that with your agents?
So half and half, and which is why I want to find a way for templated emails to just be in our Gmail, or for it to be somewhere where they can click it and just send it. Because if they have to remember to go to their desktop and open a Word doc, or look in their sent mail to find an old one or something like that, which is what I've heard that they do, then they're going to forget to do it. And then the handoff is great.
Our jobs would be much more automated if, just like you said, if the agents would just say, call my TC, it would solve so many problems, because half the time the agents will answer a question or they won't know, and then it's round and round, and then it's like if they would have just called you, it probably would have just been solved.
When we onboard a new agent, that's one of the things that they do is I set an appointment for them to sit with our main closing manager. And that's what she tells them, is she says, don't touch the file unless I tell you to. And that's what she said. She basically just says, I want to be the only one communicating, because if you say something that I said something else, then we can really have a problem. And so they'll talk to their client and they'll say, well, let me just check with, her name's Crystal. Let me just check with Crystal first. And then they won't say anything. They'll hang up and then check with Crystal. And so, but she teaches them that at the very beginning. She has a very scary demeanor to where you just want to do what she says. And so, which is great for that role. She's perfect for it. So that helps a lot.
Yeah.
I love that. It does take that assertiveness, right?
Assertive is a better word than scary.
I do like that, though. You brought up a good topic, right? We have templates for ourselves. Do we have templates for our agents to use in certain circumstances to say, okay, if for some reason they did not CC me, here's your template already in your Google template email to say, please CC my TC, and have it right there for them. Or the introduction email handoffs. Do we have that introduction if the agent is supposed to hand it off? Do we have all these templates written out for our agents to have the process?
That's true. I mean, if you think about it, like, we really want our agents out in the field selling and, you know, belly to belly, as I call it, kind of thing. And we're the people that we're good with files, we're organized, we're good with checklists. And really, they're not going to be great at remembering to send those kinds of things, where when I can click on something and say, hey, do you mind sending this to your clients to introduce me? They like that kind of reminder. They don't mind doing it. They just need to be reminded. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we
On
have
our team.
Oh, go ahead, Ann.
Yep. So on our team, we actually have access to agent emails. So we can send the congratulations email from their email. And then, yeah, because they don't always have the time to
How did you get that?
Well, yeah, we're a team and we only have like 6 agents. So everything is pretty manageable. And if they have like urgent emails, we can actually even watch their inbox. We have TCVA on the team. So yeah, we get around the systems pretty quickly.
And technically, if you are using Brevity or Command and you have those templates in there from your agents, you could just send it from them. The congratulations handoff email, introducing yourself.
Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour, so I want to honor everybody's time. Any questions or comments before we go for the day?
I have a real quick question. I'm sorry. Do you guys find it much more beneficial to operate out of your own email than you would out of your agent's.
Well, I was going to say, if you're operating out of her email, that's part of what, because like normally I think a TC will copy the agent and they can see what you've done. And
Right.
unless she goes into her sent mail, which I doubt she's doing, she's not reading everything that you're doing.
Right.
And so if you, I mean, maybe you could CC yourself on it, because I know some people do that, and then she can read what you're doing, or just get your own email.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Just especially to avoid the whole, somebody thinks they're talking to her twice, you know, because I don't introduce myself to them when she has not introduced me to them, you know, because then they think, well, who is this crazy lady emailing me from your email that I've never heard of when I just talked to you 10 minutes ago? So yeah, that's a takeaway that I'm gonna have that conversation with her tomorrow over lunch. So
Good
I'm looking
luck.
forward to it.
Good luck to you, Amy.
Hey, listen,
You got this.
to where today I called her. I said, "Listen, Heifer, you're taking all the good closing folders home," because we have this real pretty folder that we put our forms in for signatures at closing. And I was like, "Listen, I don't know where you done took my other ones, but I need them back because we have closings this week." And she was like, "Okay." Well, she stuck one in her mailbox today at her house, and I had to go get it.
Oh, Amy, we have so much we can teach you. I can't wait until next month.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank
Right.
you. Thanks, Paula.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank